and the other is like, meh, 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 meh. Hello, it's me again, Broken Bones, and I want to bring back one of my most OG type of videos, movie reviews, series reviews, especially of new movies. So today we're gonna be reviewing Mickey 17 because I have thoughts. All right, now I don't have my notebook with the notes, but I did write them down. Not during the movie, of course, but we're gonna go through them. Now, I'm gonna try to make this one a little bit shorter because addressing the elephant in the room, all my reviews are very long. They're like at least an hour long, so we're gonna try to not do that. Alright, so let's begin. Now, let's get out of the way everything that I always tell you guys that we need to get out of the way. First of all, yes, the cinematography is good. I could tell there was some good storyboarding going on there. It was nice. That for me, when I see a movie with that big of a budget, with big names, that's like the least I expect, like good colors, good cinematography, good direction. I mean, the direction was okay, right? Like, again, those little technical things, if I didn't notice anything about it, then it means it was good because it wasn't distracting me or distracting in general, So I don't have a lot to say about that. The mixing of the audio, it's all fine, right? So it's not to say like, oh, I didn't like this movie and everything about it sucks, right? But yeah. What did I like? Actually, there are some things that I liked. That's why I start with it, because when I'm going to talk more negatively about a movie, I start with the things I liked. So this is going to be in this order. But, for example, one of the things that I really, really, really liked about the movie was how we got to see a little bit of the aliens, and not environment, but like behavior with their species. Now, I am a big Half-Life fan, alright? And one of the things that I love the most about Half-Life 1 and 2, the series in general, it's how they like designed the aliens' behavior to match how you would observe different behaviors in our animal kingdoms. You know what I mean? Like, not because an alien is an alien, that again, as the movie mentions, is a subjective term, because sometimes us humans are the aliens. I get that, but you know what I mean. Extraterrestrials, if you want me to be more specific, but I'm just gonna call them aliens because it's easier, okay? But you can make an alien and be like, oh, he's weird because he's not like us. But like, I love when writers put like actual thought into how different species of aliens are gonna behave. Because again, alien, extraterrestrial, isn't a species. It's like saying animal. It's like saying plant. It's like saying human, right? There's different types of animals. There's different types of humans and plants and everything, right? So I really appreciate that in this planet, this single species of alien that we saw have like these specific behaviors. Like, I loved the scene where the humans are going to attack like the leader of the group, like the mama queen or whatever. And because the queen has this like very specific shape, she's like big and very, very recognizable from the rest. Like, everyone, like all the other little fellas started to like form like these types of little mountains that resembled the shape of the mom. That was great. I love that kind of stuff. Like, for me, sci-fi is more than just because we're in the future, we don't have to explain this technology because it's so advanced, right? And because it's sci-fi, we can do like very crazy things. Like, no, no, sci-fi is way more than that. Sci-fi is just like a whole universe of things that people just don't explore always. So seeing a little bit of that like alien behavior was so cool to me. That's the thing that I liked the most. And probably the only thing that I would say, oh, I really liked that, right? Okay, let's go to my notes. First of all, this is the first thing I wrote down. Are we really doing the internal monologue thing? Like, I'm sorry if I'm not like a cinephile or anything, but I thought I had the idea that like putting an internal monologue in your movies is like so lazy, and like it works with specific things. Like, of course, an easy example that comes to mind is like American Psycho, right? It works, right? Because like the juxtaposition of his like serious face and his like very calculated demeanor. Meanwhile, he's thinking like, "Oh, that card is so good," you know, like that's funny. That's funny. It works for the movie, right? But when your internal monologue is just, "Oh, yep, that's me, and that's where I grew up, and that's my best friend that is going to betray me," just you wait. What are we doing? You know, like I know people get so tired of writers and artsy people being like, "Show, don't tell," but there's a reason why it's like the first rule they show you, you know, in film school or whatever, and why it's like such a golden rule. You just like, because there's a reason. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. There's a reason. So I just thought the inner monologue was so tacky and dumb and unnecessary, and it was boring. It made the movie very boring because as a viewer, I want to get to learn things by myself, try to put the pieces together of, oh, they're friends, oh, he wants to do this because of this, oh, that little like hand gesture he did when blah, blah, you know, instead of outright being like, that's my girlfriend, this is the government, blah, blah, blah. Like, it was just, it's weird seeing such a big movie using like this very amateur like techniques like inner monologue. It was weird. Not techniques, but like writing choices, I guess. It was very weird, but that's like the first thing I need to note. Second of all, is it me or did the plot took a little bit to begin? Like, I know we do like a big backtrack, like a big flashback of this is where we start, but let's go back a little bit and then you can see how we got here. Like, okay, I get that there was way more creative ways to show that. If you want to be like so for real, you can argue that we didn't need the flashback because we can get like little bits of the story. We do get them as the movie like progresses. We do get those moments of oh, it's just that I owe money to this guy, blah blah blah. Did we really need the flashback? I don't know. That was weird. That was a little bit unnecessary in my opinion. But like, again, this movie has a theme of including unnecessary stuff, and that was one of the things I thought was unnecessary. The good thing, there's only one good thing about that backstory thing we got, and is that Timo is hot. Like, very hot. He's like my type. I don't have a type, but he's just... It sucks that he's weirdly written, in my opinion, which could be a segue to my next point. So right off the bat, I wasn't going to mention this until later, but it's relevant for my next point. So this movie tries to be progressive, okay? we're gonna talk more about that in a second. But I mentioned this because it's weird to me how it uses tropes that are very old and tired in characters. Like, let's be for real. Like, the aggressive black woman, the Asian man that owes a lot of money and is like very money focused and doesn't care about his friends, the bisexual girl that just takes your man. She's gonna take your man because bisexuals do that. They take your man. You know who I'm talking about. She's so forgettable that I forgot her name. The one with the weirdly like queer coded relationship, the one that dies, and she's like, "Oh, I miss her." That girl, and then she's like with Mickey, and she's like, "Oh, hey, Mickey, like, girl, you know he has a girlfriend, whatever, right?" I just thought that was weird, and like for me, Timo was so one note, which a lot of people after seeing Mickey 17 probably don't even remember him, but I do because again I was so attracted to him, which is funny because I was so attracted to him. That's how I noticed how badly he was written, because I was like, wow, you're just gonna give him one face, drug dealer that owes money and doesn't care about his friends. If you want to be again so for real, you could take him away from the movie and like replace his like additions to the plot with literally anything other than a character. You know what I mean? Like I know he has some parts in the story that are relevant, but are only to create drama and create like conflict for our white protagonist. You know what I mean? Like, and talking about our protagonist, holy shit. I just feel like I have seen him in every movie ever made by the Americans. You know, we got this white, skinny, but still strong boy that is very awkward. It's very awkward. And he just wants to go by for life without being noticed that much, you know? But he still wants a nice girlfriend. Like, and he gets it. He gets like the nice, strong girlfriend. I just feel like I've seen his trope like so many times. Like this very infantilized grown man. Infantilized in the sense that we get the impression that he cannot do anything for himself. You know, he just goes along with what people tell him. He's like extremely awkward in like a sometimes unrealistic way. I don't know. That's what I felt. You guys know what kind of trope this guy is showing us, Mickey. The most interesting thing I think about his character is not even about him. It's about the technology. It's because of the technology, right? That is that it gets to a point that after every respawn, he has he starts like shifting his personality. Like Nasha said, sometimes he's more introverted, sometimes he's more angry, sometimes he's just so dumb. That's like the most interesting thing, you know, and it's explored a little bit more with the multiples and the main plot. But it's still technically not a thing about his personality. Do we agree on that? You know what I mean? Something that I thought was going to be explored a little bit more is how 17 just doesn't die. Not because I think he's immortal, because for whatever reason in the story, because the story needs him to be alive, because that's the title of the movie, he just doesn't die. Either it's because the aliens saved him, or because right when he was like throwing up and having like an attack, all these doctors came in and saved him. Like, I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but if you're gonna make it so that for whatever circumstances in life and in his environment he just doesn't die, then make a note about that. Like, what makes Mikey 17 special? That he persists, right? That he just keeps on going no matter the circumstances. Like, I wanted so badly to get like a type of Chell moment, like in Portal. You know, the reason why Redman chooses Chell in Portal is because she just doesn't give up. She will be the one to free everyone and to end this insanity that GLaDOS is doing because she doesn't give up. She's so persistent. I wanted like something like that with Mickey 17 to make more of that thing, of this persistence, a core theme in his character and in his story. But they just didn't. They didn't. It was just like a way to keep him alive for the plot, which I thought was lazy because you had something there. But whatever. We were talking about the plot, right? And how it takes a little bit long to start. Like, I just felt that the conflicts were weird. Like, I mean, to me, from the start, we should be getting an idea of what the conflict will be. But it got to a point where we weren't sure if the conflict was going to be with Donald Trump. Sorry, I mean Mark Ruffalo's character. If it was going to be with the aliens and the language barrier. If it was going to be with the mafia thing that was like chasing Mickey and his friend. Like, we have so many like plot and conflicts that aren't fleshed out at all, and then when we get to like the third act, all of them start coming, and it's like, oh, but this guy wants to make like an eugenics inspired dystopian fantasy land. Oh wait, but the aliens are going to kill them all because the little alien is going to get incinerated. But oh wait, we have a translator that we just made right now. I'm gonna talk about that. Oh, but his friend is gonna chop him into tiny bits and pieces. Like, what? It was just too much, and it wasn't well written. It wasn't well constructed. One issue wasn't flowing well into another. It just felt like, oh yeah, by the way, it just doesn't work. Especially when like more than the first half of your story feels so like a nothing burger. It felt like there were no stakes. There wasn't like any risks, even though there technically is a lot to lose, and there's like a lot of built up conflict and drama that you could do, but it just didn't feel like anything was really worth worrying over, at least from my part, the audience. And that's crazy when I cannot feel any type of anxiety or any type of fear for an entire human race being exploded by an alien race. That should make me feel something, right? But yeah, I don't think they were well fleshed out, all of these plot lines and conflicts. They just felt poorly thought out, honestly. But yeah, that's my point about the plot. Let's see if we can... Oh, yeah. Let's talk about what I mentioned a while back, not about the politics, but about sci-fi, the genre. So, I'm pretty sure I have mentioned this before in this channel, but I love sci-fi so much. I think it is a genre with so much potential. I used to have a friend. We would get into stupid like discussions about this. Which one was better, if sci-fi was better or if fantasy was better, right? And I used to argue like, well, sci-fi is way cooler because you actually have to explain the mechanisms of your technology. You actually have to like write all of these science-inspired tropes for it to make sense. In fantasy, you can just say, oh, it's the magic, right? I disagree now, but there's still something about my argument that I still keep like close to my heart, and is that one of the most fun things about sci-fi is making your own like world building based off what we have here in reality in the present, to elevate technology, to elevate all of these science terms that we're exploring and making them make sense, like in your sci-fi world, with a bit added of campiness. It's just, it has its own art, I love that. So, Jesus. The fucking light. So when a sci-fi movie, series, whatever, just gives, like, doesn't explain their technology, and when they do try to explain their technology, they just raise more questions that if they hadn't explained it, I just start getting mad. And that's my nitpick. That's my specific nitpick. For example, let's talk about a small detail, right? So we have the regenerator. I'm gonna call it the respawn machine because I'm a TF2 fan. We have the respawn machine. And from what Mickey tells us, they do like a weekly backup of like his body and his memories and all of that. So there's not like big chunks of forgotten memory or whatever. But the thing is that once a week isn't enough, really. And I would think that in that one scene in the, not inauguration, the stone carving thingy, remember which one? With Donald Trump, or Mark Ruffalo's character, sorry, where he is like carving, where he's going to carve the name of everyone in the ship, and he's like, this is a day for history, and blah blah blah. Shouldn't that be something he needs to remember? But like the scientists are just letting Mickey run freely around and probably send him to a next deadly mission. You know, like in the next respawn, he wouldn't even remember all that incident. Like small things like that that just don't make a lot of sense to me. That, and for example, I wrote something here. Oh yeah, there's this moment. There's this weird moment where you know how in movies they put like little title cards, yeah, whatever, where it's like winter 1993 or whatever. There's this point where they deadass put spring. They put spring in this planet they're in that is like super cold. Spring, really? That would that's basically saying that this planet they found is in a solar system that is very similar to our solar system. But not only that, from what we see about this planet, there's no vegetation. Yeah, vegetation. There's not like a lot of. There's like a lot of cold. There's a lot of wind and stuff, and it's one of those planets that, you know, when scientists are exploring them and like analyzing them and investigating them, they're like, oh yeah, this planet is below blah 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 blah. So if there was actually a spring, let's say they found like a solar system that matches ours and it has for some reason the exact same seasons as us, I still would think it would be very, very, very unlikely that you could go just walk around because it's spring now. Like, no, we're talking about an extremely cold planet with no vegetation around, but you don't have like any special suit. You're just there like, I love spring. Small things like that, okay? Small things like that I just think are a little... But again, because it's sci-fi, we don't have to question it, right? Again, small things like that. So yeah, the weird tech, not well explored in some things, but again, it wasn't really a movie about that. It was more about ethics and a metaphor, or better yet, a satire. Here's where we talk about the politics. The reason why I wanted to make this video, really. So, okay. Oh wait, before we do that, I just remembered I needed to make a note about the translator because it's driving me crazy. You're telling me that we know nothing about these aliens, about the creepers, right? I just remembered the name. We don't know anything about the creepers, right? It's only when you're in the cafeteria that this guy Mickey is like, that the scientist is like, holy shit, language, communication. And then, you know, next scene they're all like in the room where there's like an incinerator and they're going to burn the baby alive. And she's like, here's a prototype. Like, you did not. And it works that well. The translator works that well. And it's a prototype. And you did it in what? A span of 2 days without knowing mostly not think about the creepers in your whole, like, the whole thing you were based on was your co-worker being like blah, 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 blah. The only thing you can base this off is the baby that isn't necessarily like able to speak that well as their mother, from what we can see. Not only that, but also this reminds me of another thing. The incinerators are in the same room where they're doing like extremely important research. This is why making a good like big layout, mental layout and physical layout of your ship is very important. You know, that's something that we talk about a lot when we are like designing spaces. What is this room for? When it's not being used for a tense scene that it just happens to have all the things needed for the plot to move along, right? Why is there an incinerator next to like a research table with a lot of very delicate chemicals? Okay, now that that's over, we can finally talk about the politics. Yay! So, if you haven't caught up with my running joke, yes, we can all tell that Mark Ruffalo's character is meant to satirize Trump. And probably his gay friend, not friend, what's the word? Advisor is like an Elon Musk type dude. I mean, Mark Ruffalo's character is like the baby. Yeah, it's like the baby of Donald Trump and Elon Musk. I don't know. Also, can we not like pointlessly queer code evil characters that aren't like that what's the word, relevant to the plot, and add not really much by making them queer coded, like the advisor of Trump? We all saw that he was queer coded, the way he was looking at Mark Ruffalo, whatever. But like, we can see that this is clearly a satire of Trump, Elon Musk. This like very fascist ideology that Elon was screaming from the top of his lungs a few years ago about colonizing space, and you know that has like subtle eco-fascist undertones to it. There's eco-fascism everywhere for people with the eyes to see, all right? But like, we get that whole like fascist ideology moment in the dinner table where Trump is like, oh, you have the perfect genes, we are going to make a white space nation with strong genes. Eugenics, Eugenios, we love eugenics. Like, okay. And then there's like, I kind of cringed at this moment, I'm not gonna lie, where evil Mickey 18, like, is going to shoot Donald Trump, Mark Ruffalo, and you know, he has like the bruise from the bullet, and it's like so clearly a reference to the failed assassination attempt at Trump. Like, at that point I was like, ooh, Americans really need this very obvious symbology for them to understand, oh wait, this is a critic of fucking fascism, you know? So that's basically what's angering me the most. You know, I'm not going to say that we used to make a subtle art, because, I mean, I hate all of that. Art used to be like this, and now it's like this. But we need to be so for real with ourselves about the state of political art nowadays. And for that, I want you guys to remember The Boys. Did you watch it? Did you read the comic? I heard it's pretty bad. But what's real important about The Boys, at least for my point here, is first season, since the very beginning, it has been criticizing the American, I don't know how to say this word, corporatocracy, that word, which basically is like the whole corporate America taking over politics. It's like neoliberalism. Just alt-right, more alt-right. And it criticizes the right, the role that corporations have with the government, and how we idolize these political figures, especially from people of the right. Like Homelander again was a more subtle reference to Trump, for example, which I like. I like that Homelander, even if he's very, very campy, very intense, very like taken to another extreme. I like that at least in the first season they're not like telling you exactly what they're criticizing, because they still thought their audiences were smart. It was until conservatives started being like, it's only when the writers started noticing that conservatives were enjoying the show, and they were like, oh, they hate both sides. They hate both sides though. That the writers were like, we are doing something wrong, which we'll get to that. And they were like, we need to be more obvious. And that's why no one liked the later seasons, because it was too obvious. It was too set in your face. There was no clever writing anymore. Nothing for the audience to figure out, right? And that's because Americans are that's because mostly conservatives. I'm going to say the word. Well, the words. Most don't really exercise their media literacy. Not only conservatives, though, but it's mostly seen in them. You guys saw what they did to the Matrix. Yeah. So, it's no surprise for me that we're getting a movie so obvious, so in your face about criticizing fascism and the alt-right that is not clever. It is not clever in its writing at all, because maybe the writers realized, oh wait, how are we going to be sure that the audiences that we are criticizing, like in this case would be the fans of some political figures like Trump, conservatives, alt-right people, centrists, how are we going to make sure that they understand this message is criticizing them and making fun of them? Put red caps, make it so obvious that it's Trump with the way he speaks and with the assassination attempt. Make him say white race and perfect genes and blah, 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 right? And to me, it's sad to think that we are in a point in art and writing that because we are so scared that our message is going to be misunderstood, we are taking away all like subtlety, all clever writing for the sake of being so upfront with the audience. I'm gonna hate it. I'm gonna be so for real, I was going to make another comparison with Black Mirror, but it's like it's different because in Black Mirror the problem is that reality became more surreal than the surrealness, yeah, that we were writing as satire people that wanted to make satire of the present, but the present became the satire itself, which is depressing. But I guess it's like still related in some ways, we used to, I think back then we could make more creative metaphors, like the farm. That's a very classic example. I'm not just talking about the book The Farm. I'm also like speaking of it as a general metaphor, like with Chicken Run, a very awesome socialist communist movie about gay chickens that want to leave a farm. Okay, like I think back then we could make more of these metaphors, and they were radical, right? They were very sometimes even controversial, because I think sometimes back then people could see art for what it was, that it was a political tool, a political tool that could hide these very like radical, strong political beliefs under funny faces, under innocuous characters, under animals, for God's sake. You know what I mean? But, and this is like a sentiment that I see explored in my favorite painting that I'm gonna show you in a bit. But as time went on and things started getting way more extreme from people in the right, they started getting less scared. They said, fuck subtlety. I don't need like these very cleverly hidden Nazi symbols. I'm just gonna outright make the salute, right? We got on the front page of Twitter. It's not X, it's Twitter. We got in the front page of Twitter famous people. I don't remember how this guy is called. I heard he made an album called Graduating. I don't know, saying like, oh, I'm a Nazi, I love Hitler. Like, when our enemy, because it's our enemy basically, the fascists are our enemy, when our enemy is being so clear and so upfront with their ideology, I guess to us it feels like, well, we would be dumb and idiots if we were trying to still play the subtle game, still try to play the metaphor games, especially when the people we're criticizing are starting to agree and like the things we're doing to criticize them, like in The Boys, you know? So I'm not surprised by the way the movie went about its political message. I'm not surprised at all. But it doesn't mean I like it. It doesn't mean I'm like, okay, it's fine, you know? Like, and what's worse is that I could at least excuse it if the message, like the resolution, went into a more, you know, radical solution, like we used to. I mean, not always, but you know what I mean. But the problem is that this movie has a very, how do I say this, Kamala good message. Call me crazy, but if it's not crazy for you, for me to say that Mark Ruffalo was playing a type of Donald Trump character, then I would wish for you to also say that it's not that crazy for me to say that Nasha at the end of the movie is like a representation of Kamala. You know what I mean? Like, this movie ends with a very, that's why Democrats are good message, you know? A very like, that's why voting it's good and why we need to support the Democrats in the left. Institutionally, yes. If we play by the rules and take away all those greedy right-wing guys that are fascists, bozos, if we take them away and us, the cool Democrats, take over the government, everything's going to be okay. Now, if you're, I don't know, delusional, which I don't say that in a bad way, okay? We are all delusional in our own ways, okay? I used to be delusional too. I used to think voting worked. But like, if you're delusional, that's probably a good message for you. Or hopeful in like a misguided way. You would probably say, well, ain't that the truth? You know, how I wish Kamala had won. And listen, it's about time most of y'all realize democracy and Democrats aren't going to save us. Democrats in the government aren't going to save y'all. I'm sorry.
Hello, Disco Babies, is Broken Bones editing here. So I just want to like make a quick note now that I'm like watching that back. I was like thinking about what I said there, and I think the most appropriate way to go about this is saying, you know, we can all do our part. I think we do need resistance. We do need like more radical actions if we want to like really, you know, have a change here. More anti institutional ways You know, I have always said that armed resistance from minorities is probably the way to go. But, and that's a big but, that's not to say that agents and characters in the institutions that control us can't do any good. You know, um, we have had laws passed by the institutions in control that have helped minorities, you know? Like at the end of the day, this system is very powerful, and for me to come on here and say like nothing that changes in the government will have like a positive repercussion in minorities and unoppressed people, it's just a lie. It's like a blatant lie, you know? Like this one YouTuber said, I don't remember his name, I'm sorry, but like, if you're gonna burn shit. You know, if you want to protest in a way that is like anti-institutional, then do that. Organize yourself. If you think that you can change the world with the government and being inside the system, then work hard for it and try to like really do a change while you're in there, you know? Like everyone has their own role in the liberation of everyone. That's all I wanted to say. Back to the video.
I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. That's how you say it. I don't know. But like, to me, it became way more obvious that Democrats weren't our people when, in the last elections, these recent elections, Kamala lost, Trump won, and what was the first thing that Democrats started to do? What was the first thing? They started to blame us, Latinos. What? They started to blame Arabs. What? And you know what's funny? Apparently, some new information has come out, or it was always available, or something like that. That Starbucks never supported genocide, or something like that. Never supported Israel, or whatever. Still, you should boycott. I think. Join us. Like I think we still should boycott Starbucks regardless. But whatever, right? So yeah, it turned out that they don't support genocide, whatever. But when Kamala lost, people didn't know that. For them, they were still for them they were still like supporting genocide in Israel. And they started saying, "Well, fuck you Arabs. Let's go back to Starbucks." Damn, what the fuck? That's insane. That's insane. That's actually insane. Like you with the thought, still the idea that Starbucks was helping bomb children in Palestine. You were like, fuck them kids. You guys made my brat queen, Kamala, lose her elections, so I'm gonna go back to the genocidal coffee. That's crazy people work. You're crazy. You. Like, Democrats, especially white Democrats, but like Democrats in general, they don't care about us. And you know what's very funny? That there would be like Latinos being like, "Oh yeah, Trump, I love Trump, Latinos for Trump," and then there will be like these gringos being like, especially white gringos, but not all of them were white, but like they were being like, "Oh, you're voting for the same man that's gonna deport you. Like, how can you like vote against your own cause or whatever?" And I just want to make a quick note, just slide in real quick. The immigrants that came to your country, the United States, the Americans from Latin America with no papers that are building your houses, giving you your food, and making sure your streets are nice, they don't get to vote. They legally can't vote. So, you see where I'm going with this? And we can go even further. We can go even further as to why the elections and voting isn't democracy at all. Because true democracy would be um, give the right for every single person that lives in the United States the right to vote. But we know that's not true. We know there are sectors of the society that are just made out impossible. They just give them impossible requirements and fucking steps to vote, like native people. Like the example I just gave, immigrants with no papers that are living in the United States. They're building American houses, and yet they don't vote. How is that democracy? How is that a democratic election? Something to think about. But yeah, I didn't like the happy democratic ending, the happy Democrats win, blue for the win ending. Now that I'm thinking about it, look, no one actually watches these videos. These videos are more for myself because no one is going to watch this whole thing. No one. But let's just say someone does, and they're like a hashtag Kamala, hashtag Brad Queen supporter. This fucking light is driving me insane. Let's just say there's a Kamala fan here that made probably a blue bracelet to signal to other people that she personally didn't vote for Trump. Congratulations! Wow. I'm not saying that I'm happy Trump won. The fuck? And like, I understand a lot of you guys still have faith in the government. But all I'm going to say is that you are not giving when you start screaming at people that voted third party after in the elections. You're not giving with those blue bracelets. You're not giving with your Go Kamala flags or whatever. Like, I understand some people want to work with the system to fix it, but we cannot bring down the master's house using the master's tools. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, I'm just a reviewer in the internet, man. Leave me alone. The fuck. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say, basically, about the political message. We are 54 minutes in, and I promised this was going to be short. Oh well. After such a heavy rambling, I think we can end this video with some lighter notes. Alright, how does that sound? So first, I'm very happy about Robert Pattinson's acting. You know, I know this is like a very old take, but I truly love how he cleaned his image from Twilight, and now, like, we for real like respect him as such an accomplished actor because he's very, very good at what he does. This is like such an old trope for actors to show their range, but it never gets old for me when it's like a character and they're like, it's a actor that is playing the same character, but it's like, you know, different personalities, and you can see like their range. I love that. I love that. Okay. Oh yeah, this is like a good point actually. So there was this point where I thought they were going to show how no one in Mickey's life actually sees him as a person. Like, for example, the science team treats him like a lab rat. The government, Trump, is like, they treat him just like another expendable, and like, you know, how it doesn't matter how much he dies, you know, he's just a fucking man that signed up for this, which again could be like a critic, yeah, of the military industrial complex, and how they say, well, they're just expendable, you know, they're just bodies made for war. They decided to get into this, but when they die, it's like, oh, this whole parade, oh, our fallen heroes, when for you they were only bodies for the machine. But whatever. You know, the government treats him like an expendable. this girl, I forgot her name. I'm sorry. The queer coded one, the bisexual one. How she was like, well, we can share. 17 can be mine and 18 can be yours. Like, she's also in a way dehumanizing Mickey. And then Nasha was like, fuck you, they're both mine. I was like, oh, okay. They're going to show how everyone, in a way, dehumanizes Mickey, whether it's by treating him like a dispensable, treating him like he's an object, treating him like he can just be split, taken, owned, how no one really like values him as a person. But then he has like his happy ending with Nasha. Also, Nasha is so weirdly written. Let me not get into it. I already made a whole rambling about the government. But yeah, she's weirdly written. Like, her arc is weird, and it just, I don't know. I'm not even gonna get into it. The way she was written was weird. Okay, I don't know who the actress is, but she made a good job. So there's that. The music was good. A little bit dramatic at times, which was very funny for me when it's something's like overly dramatic for something that doesn't really need to be like that dramatic. But it was good. It was good. And yeah, I really don't have anything else to say. I just didn't like it. I didn't. I'm so tired right now. Being so for real, but if you did watch till the end for any reason, thank you. Thank you. I've been getting some, and when I mean some, there's not a lot, but some subscribers from my TF2 videos. Hi! Like, I really need to decide what this channel is going to be about, because I'll be posting the most politically dense video you've ever seen, and then the next video is like funny and gay TF2 moments. Like, I really need to decide what I'm going to do with this channel. Help. But whatever. I hope y'all enjoyed if you did watch to the end, and who knows what I'm going to do next. Alright, you will see. It will be a surprise. Hope you have a good day. Bye.